Off-grid no longer means living primitively, but rather living strategically. We are at a point in history where energy independence is more realistic than ever before. Think about it. Solar panels, batteries are cheaper and way more efficient right now. Installation is easier, anyone can do it. This is what I feel. Number one, protection from the grid outages, which is very unpredictable, and it will just fall on you anytime. Living off grid will predict your long-term energy cost, and a freedom from utilities that feel fragile and overpriced. So we can definitely talk about the rising cost of living that is currently pushing people to opt out. Housing, utilities, insurance, taxes, these continue to rise in many regions. So living off grid can definitely reduce or eliminate monthly utility bills. The cost of living in places like this is way cheaper than you'd expect if you're living in the cities, simply because it eases your expenditure. Because when you think about it, these reoccurring bills month after month that you have to pay, it turns into a one-time investment, like building your house, buying a water tank, things. To some people, it's less about escaping society, but rather more about financial survivability. This next one can be seen when you've been living off grid for maybe some time, and that is self-resilience. The ability to stay functional during emergencies is one of the most helpful things that you can achieve in a society where everything depends on the grid, on the government. In my case, I enjoy the fact that I'm able to produce my own power, but I also think one of the most beneficial things of living off grid is to be able to secure my own food and water. Remote work makes locations flexible. In 2026, remote and hybrid work is normalized. This allows people to live far from cities, but still are able to get an income. So if you choose to go off-grid, you can choose a land based on sustainability rather than commute, because that is simplified if you're a remote worker. This leads me to this new word that I recently discovered, a modern off-grider. And because you live remote and you're living a sustainable life, the term modern off-grider comes into play. This is one thing that people don't consider, but I think it should be up there. Mental health, a peace of mind. That was one of the biggest determinant as to why I would finally choose to come and live off grid. So I think we can talk about so many things that lead to an undesirable mental health, but among them is consumer pressure, constant connectivity. Think about density and noise in the cities. So at some point, you want to get away from all that. I think off-grid can offer you something that the city might not be able to offer you. Like a slow-paced life, yes. Living such a life allows you to recreate that connectivity with nature, because at each and every point in life, a person needs that kind of relationship. I would think nature has a way of psychologically balancing you up as a person. And I think off-grid living is one of those ways to go back to nature and reclaim your roots. But we all know it can't be all roses. let's just go through why an off-grid life might not be your kind of life. Off-grid living requires so much competence and planning. And if you don't do that, you find yourself wasting too much on things you're not supposed to waste, resources, and you're responsible for everything that happens there. Say water, food, maintenance, waste. So all these fall on you. If you dislike problem solving, off-grid life might be a little bit stressful and uncomfortable. Living off-grid does not necessarily mean it's cheap. Uh, Quite a contrary. So you think about solar. Solar is not cheap. Batteries are not cheap. If you live in a place that doesn't have a lake like I do, you're going to think about drilling a well. So your water needs might not be met as you might like. Building septic systems off-grid is quite challenging. So all the things, building a house, given the fact that transportation of a material to this place is way expensive than most material we buy for the same price, you might be wondering and thinking, why even do I bother? So off-grid does not necessarily mean it's cheap, which also brings the aspect of social logistics, like community. It might be slightly harder for you to find community, and solar, sometimes if it doesn't shine, even if you have the solar, it doesn't work. But also, if you have to access medical facilities, they might be further than you might have wanted to. So all these have to be considered, but also be planned according to where you want to go to live off grid. This in turn can be a deal breaker if you've made up your mind to move off grid, but you find all these things that are affecting you and you did not plan for them. So off grid can be good for you if or when you value autonomy over convenience. If convenience is not your thing and you can find a way of dealing with that, you can try some off-gridding. If you have an adaptable income, passive income streams, you work remote, or maybe if you saved up some money in the past that you're able to go off-grid, you should definitely try out off-grid life, an off-grid kind of life. If you enjoy learning new skills, because you need some of these if you're planning to go off-grid. You might need to build your house. You can learn some carpentry that will help in building the house. You can take a mechanic short course if you need to repair some things around the homestead. So any skill that will help you off-grid, you can try learning it beforehand, or you're willing to learn while you are off-grid. Technically, an off-grid kind of life reduces your dependency, but it does not necessarily mean your obligations are going to reduce, because in actual sense, your obligations multiply. So all in all, in 2026, people move off-grid not because society is ending, but because technology now makes independency viable. And modern life increasingly feels fragile, expensive, or misaligned with personal values. Off-grid living is not escaping. I would term it as a trade for less convenience, but more control. My name is Peter from the Outpost Homestead. I'll catch you in another one. Bye.